Sorry? Criminal justice. See, criminal justice. Thank you. She said it in a East African. Criminal justice. Okay. Yes. I don't know whether that's what God wants you to do, but if that is it, and you put it here, you should be able to see this part. You should be able to tell yourself whether, I don't know all of the things that criminal justice people do, whether you want to be a social activist, or I know there are different things that you can do with that, right? Right. So you could work in a police department, you could work in a law firm, you could work with different kind of stuff. So depending on what exactly you want to do, you can, if you want to work in an organization, it's different. But if you want to own an organization, you have to look at this. And depending on how big you want the organization to be, to solve problems globally, to extend yourself to your very best, sometimes you might need to partner with somebody. Do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes you will, how many of you have heard of Harvard University? Harvard. That's the number one university. So I go to Harvard every year. Every year. I'm always invited. One of the things I noticed in Harvard is that in Harvard, people look for partners. They don't discuss going to get a job. There are companies that come, before you see an Harvard graduate going to look for a job, looking for CV to submit somewhere, it's very hard. It's the company that goes looking for them and provides them with very juicy offer that will make them say, okay, that thing I want to do, let me hold on first. Let me enjoy this offer. That's usually what makes them go somewhere. But most of them, they will just stand. Let's say me, I'm good in technology. Harriet is good in finance. They will just come together and they will form a fintech company. Very interesting. I was surprised. Some guys came, I'm talking of some Chinese Indian guys. They collaborated and did some work in East Africa. They were sharing the technology with us. 2 guys finished school and left to a remote village in East Africa. And were solving problems with a technology they designed together in school. They are not Christians. So tomorrow we're going to talk about something very important. But please, you must read. See, when you read, it stays with you. There are some good books to read. If you don't have a library, they said if you want to know what a man looks like, go and check his wardrobe. But if you want to know where he's going to, go and check his library. As a young boy in my junior secondary school, if people gave me gifts, they gave me books. They didn't used to give me money. They gave me books. When I was finishing my secondary school, the book that my pastor gave me, gift. The Man That God Uses. That's the book he gave me. The Man That God Uses. Small book like this. Gift. Everything is book. Book. Because if you can read, you can become. You cannot become what you do not know. It is in the books. You find exposure. So let me add this thing to this. Exposure. Experience. Education. You see these 3 things. You must keep growing in them. Your exposure. So for instance, you want to do this, right? You don't have the money yet. You are still working on the educational side. You must go even from here. As you start thinking about things like this, in Kenya here, in Nairobi, there are places that are already doing this. You don't need an excursion. Carry yourself to the place. Go and see it. In fact, in some of the cases, you can even go there and tell the manager, please, I'm a student, I'm studying this, I'm studying that. I would like to come sit down and ask you some questions about how you do your thing, about how you started, about this, about that. What did you need to study? Where did you study? How did you do this? What is your advice to a young person? You can do that for free. You don't have to pay for it. It's called what? Exposure. Exposure. Your education is this part that we have explained already. Your experiences, some of them will be on a job, some of them will be in things that are happening to you, or things that you are inculcating. Maybe you decide to volunteer. So you can decide to volunteer. You want to work in the hospitality business. You decide to volunteer in a hotel for free. You don't need salary. No, you don't. You need experience. You look for a criminal justice department in Nairobi. You tell them, sir, every holiday, you resume there. Every holiday, they must know you. Why? Because you want to build a large organization in the future. And for you right now, you want to understand it very well, as much as possible. Your experience, your exposure, and your education. Once you stop in this area and feel like you've had enough, that's where God stops. He can't do more than that with you. This thing, I teach it in almost every university I go. But I don't think I have gone like this on this trip. This trip so far, I've not dived, I've not painted. I told them to provide me a book. Right now, she's director for World Trade Organization. A woman. World Trade Organization. Like those things they say, those men, is a lie. Now, women can be anything. They can be president. Women can be anything. And God is ready to back any woman up. That woman said from a young age she was dreaming she pursued her education. She was born in a village. She pursued her education so much that she dreamt that she was going to go to Harvard, she was going to go to MIT. Sir, she went to Harvard and MIT. But play around with yourself, his salary you'll be getting. Take your life seriously. You can't be talking about salary in the future. Other people's salary. The prophets, they almost killed her. But the nation celebrated her, blessed her for her hard work in Nigeria. She finished that one. World Trade Organization picked her up. There are some women like that in Nigeria that have done and I'm excited. One was our younger sisters died of fake drugs.